Hello and welcome to episode 51 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie, I'm your host, and I am an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Today, I want to talk to you about different ways that you can work with and use the Akashic Records on your spiritual journey that you might not know about. A lot of the time, people will come to me with the misconception that the Akashic Records are just about past lives. And there's nothing wrong with something just being about past lives. Understanding your past lives can be extremely helpful. And that is absolutely something that we do look at in the Akashic Records, but there's also so much more that you can do in your work with the Akashic Records. Those of you who've been following me for a while will know that in 2025, my intention is to create some standalone classes that are going to be around doing this deeper work in your own Akashic Records, because I think it's very important at this time in respect of everything that's going on from an energetic perspective, the influence of the evolutionary and the devolutionary forces, etc., that we really take our power back and step into our power. And my hope is that by giving you some information and some courses in respect of how to deepen your own practice in your Akashic Records, it's going to allow you to step into your power more, trust yourself more, have a deeper connection to your intuition, your guides, etc. So that's my intention for 2025. And in this episode, I just want to kind of touch some of the topics that I'm going to be doing those courses in. Of course, the first place that everybody has to start is actually knowing how to go into your Akashic Records. My next live level 1 class starts on the 4th of February. In level 1, you learn how to access your Akashic Records. You learn how to also do energy work in your Akashic Records, what we call clearing. So that would be the first step for everybody. If you're on your spiritual journey and you haven't yet done a level 1 class, or you're not yet working in your own Akashic Records, but you're interested in doing some of these additional modules, definitely jump on the next live class starting February the 4th. If you can't attend the classes live, please don't panic. All of the classes are recorded. They're then uploaded into a portal that is on my website, and you can access them and study in your own time. Everything that you need to do that class is available in that portal for you. Not doing it live, you don't miss out on any of the activations or anything that takes place. It all works completely fine, just catching up. If you have questions and you're not able to attend live, I just ask that you email those over to me in between classes, and then I cover it in the next live class. So you're still supported by me throughout the time that you're studying with me. In the show notes, I will pop the link to sign up for level 1 in there, and I will also pop a link just for a mailing list, which is the mailing list in respect of these additional modules that I've just mentioned. All you have to do is fill in your name and your email address, and then when I am ready to hit the launch button on those, you will be notified of that. So I will put that in the show notes as well. As you will see in the show title, I have limited this to 10 things. And the reason that I have limited it to 10 things is because I think with getting into these 10 points, you'll see just the potential and the scope for you doing this work in your own Akashic Records. And I also didn't want to overwhelm you with all of the different things that you can do. Of course, there are more than 10. For those of you who have been working in your Akashic Records for a long time, you'll know just how broad and varied the work that you can do in there is. Number 1 is deepening your connection to your intuition, to that internal navigation system. The very process of you going into your Akashic Records, spending time in your Akashic Records and doing different things in the Akashic Records, all of that itself helps to deepen your intuition. As you will have heard me talk about before, Akashic Records work is not intuitive work per se. It's a form of channeling. But of course, when you're working with the Akashic Records as a channel, you utilize your internal navigation system to be able to receive, understand, and transmit the information that you're being given from the Akashic Records. So if you are somebody who is struggling to connect to your intuition, if you are wanting to really deepen that connection to that internal navigation system so that you can strengthen your discernment, so that you can really feel that resonance when you come across things, which is absolutely going to be a skill that you're going to need 2025 onwards, then you working with your Akashic Records is going to help you deepen that connection to that internal navigation system. Everybody has intuition, okay? Everybody has the ability to feel into, does this resonate? Everyone has the ability to feel into what is true for them, what is going to help them move forward. But a lot of the time, for various different reasons, we're disconnected from that internal navigation system. Number 2 goes hand in hand with number 1 in respect of working in your Akashic Records is going to activate Dormant Clair sensors. If you aren't sure what the Clair sensors are, I will link a previous episode where I go into the Clair sensors in more detail because I'm not going to do that here today. But everybody has all of the Clair sensors. They are part of that internal navigation system, and everybody has all of them. That doesn't mean that everybody has access to all of them, because of course we have evolved in a way that at this time we are very brain focused, and oftentimes that means that we are not utilizing, connecting to and developing the Clair sensors, and sometimes people just don't know how to do that, and that's okay. But everybody has all of the Clair sensors, okay? So if you are sat there and you are thinking, I have no clairvoyance whatsoever, you know, people talk about doing meditation, they talk about all of these different visions they see in that inner eye. I don't have any of that. When I close my eyes, it's just black. That doesn't mean that you don't have clairvoyance. It just means that that clairvoyance is dormant. And by working in your Akashic Records, you're going to find these clairs come online. A lot of the people who study with me find that, especially when they go into practitioner level training, that these other clairs come online very quickly. And this is absolutely what happened to me personally. Also, whilst I was working in my own Akashic Records, I utilized certain Clair sensors. And then as soon as I started practicing reading and clearing for other people, other Clair sensors came online that I just thought that I didn't have access to. So this is absolutely a positive side effect of working in the Akashic Records. Number 3 is strengthening the connection and communication with all of your guides. And I say all of your guides because everybody has different levels of guides. For example, you will have guides that are assigned to you to work with you in respect of anything that you're doing in the astral plane. When you dream, when you shamanic journey, when you perhaps take plant medicines, when you astral project, there will be specific guides that work with you during that process, so during the astral plane work. Those guides are going to be different than the guides who you come across in the Akashic Records. The astral plane is the 4th dimension and the Akashic Records are 5th dimension and above. So you have a whole team of guides. I have never come across anybody in all of my thousands of readings with people that don't have a whole team of guides available to them. And in the Akashic Records, and we go into this quite a lot in level 1, there are different levels of guides in respect of that you're going to work with. So there are some who are always going to show up in your Akashic Records work, and then there are others who are going to come in just in respect of specific lessons, specific topics that you talk about. Now, even though we have all of these different types of guides working with us across multiple dimensions, by working with your Akashic Records, your ability to communicate with all of your guides, whether you're in your Akashic Records or not, is going to deepen and strengthen because of the fact that you're going to start to understand how certain guides communicate to you. You're strengthening that internal navigation system, and you're able to really start to open yourself up more in your day-to-day life so that those guides who are assigned to you to work with you in respect of your life on earth, in respect of the astral plane, have much more opportunity to be able to connect into, because you're more open to that. You're more receptive to that. Number 4 is provide you much more access to your creative energy, your internal creative energy. For those of you who don't know, when I am writing content, when I am writing courses, what I do is I open up my Akashic Records to do that work. So my brain is still involved in the process, but I'm opening up to that higher guidance, that higher wisdom. I'm making sure that my creative energy has the ability to flow through. Now, our world is designed in a way to keep you disconnected from this internal creative energy. There is very much a focus on consume, don't create. Okay, you just look at how the world is designed at the moment, how our society is designed at the moment in respect of things like social media, streaming services, all of that stuff. There's very little downtime. And actually, every single person has this beautiful creative energy within them that is a connection to the divinity within them. It's a connection to the source consciousness within them. So by tapping into that creative energy, you are connecting into your soul, source consciousness, that aspect of the divinity. We don't do it very much. So the Akashic Records can provide a supportive, energetic environment for those of you who do creative work. So whether that's writing, composing music, art, anything like that, if you do that with your Akashic Records open, you're going to find it much easier to get into that flow than if you're just trying to do it through sheer willpower alone. Number 5 is to understand and work through money blocks and blocks to abundance. And this is actually going to be my first additional module that I'm going to do for people in the Akashic Records, because money is one of those topics that is so charged and so misunderstood, especially in the spiritual community. I think it will be really helpful for you all to start working with the energy of money through the Akashic Records and seeing it from that perspective. By working with your Akashic Records, you're able to understand where these certain energetic blocks are, limiting beliefs that you have, programming, conditioning that you have. So understanding where you're currently at, and then also understanding how to move into a much more cooperative relationship to that energy. So not just the deconstruction work of understanding what's going on and letting that go, but also the constructive work of building a more healthy relationship to it. Number 6 is to identify ancestral wounds that you have taken on to transmute and give guidance on how to do that transmutation process. Ancestral wounding in the Akashic Records covers not only the ancestral line that you have chosen to be born into in this lifetime, but also any ancestral wounding that your soul has, so from your soul family, because these two things are often different. And for some of you, you will have specifically chosen to be born into a specific ancestral line, take on that wounding of that ancestral line to transmute it for and on behalf of the ancestral line. This is advanced work that a soul takes on. So you do not get young souls taking on this type of work, but it's absolutely something I see time and time again with people who come to me for Akashic Records work, that they have taken on significant and deep wounds. They're here to be the cycle breakers. They're here to move past the limitations that the wounding, so the energetic stagnation caused by the wounding, has given, so has limited the family line. And ancestral work is so beautiful to be done in the Akashic Records, because what you see is not only the change happening in the individual's light grid, but also in the light grid of the ancestral line. So understand that you are connected to your ancestral line through the light grid. So there's an overlapping. Just like when we have a soul contract with someone, there's an overlapping of the light grids. This is true with ancestral lines as well. And it's beautiful, beautiful work. It's deep work. It can be uncomfortable, but it is amazing work that can be done. And of course, the Akashic Records can provide you with a lot of support during that process. Number 7 follows on from that in respect of, by working in the Akashic Records, you're going to deepen your connection to and your understanding of your light grid. Your light grid that you can connect to through your Akashic Records is the foundation of the light body or the Merkaba. So in your perusing online, social media, etc., you may have come across the terms light body or Merkaba. And what you're doing on your spiritual journey is you're building the light body, you're building and activating the Merkaba. And I'll do a separate episode on that topic specifically because it's quite a big topic that's often misunderstood. But just understand that by connecting in and working with your Akashic Records, you're working with that aspect of yourself. Number 8 is, I think, one of a really fun way to use the Akashic Records, in that you can connect to highest timeline version of you, and highest timeline just means living an authentic life that is completely aligned to your soul. You can connect to that aspect of yourself because that aspect of yourself exists in an alternative timeline, and you can converse with that aspect of yourself. So you can ask that aspect of yourself questions like, what steps did I take to get into alignment? Where am I still currently blocked? And what do I need to let go of that I'm currently holding on to align to you? So it's essentially talking to future you and finding out what they did, the steps that they took to get to the position that they are in. This is really fun work, I think, personally. Number 9 is to understand the archetypal energies that are contained within your soul blueprint and how these impact you in your day-to-day life. So you will remember that working with the Akashic Records is all about understanding yourself from that objective soul level perspective. Okay. And part of understanding that is to understand that before we come into an incarnation, we are very involved in working with our guides to construct a soul blueprint. Think of the soul blueprint as a place that stores information that we want to work with through an incarnation. So information about soul contracts, for example, or that ancestral wounding that we talked about earlier. What we also put into the soul blueprint are specific archetypal templates. Now, again, I'll do a separate episode on archetypal templates because, again, it's a huge topic. But we all have these different archetypal templates, and these different archetypal templates essentially give the incarnation a flavor. Okay? For example, lots of people will have the Saboteur archetypal template. So they will have, it's like a specific program that's input into that blueprint. And as you're operating through your life, you'll see that at certain times, this archetypal program impacts your behaviors, your thought patterns, everything like that. Has a huge impact on what we do, the types of archetypal programs that we choose. Now, you may sit there and think, okay, but why would I choose something like a Saboteur archetype? This sounds kind of ridiculous in respect of why would I want that aspect? Always remember that the soul really loves to play around with the incarnations, to have all of these different flavors, because that's how it learns and evolves and grows. Okay? Doesn't mean it's going to be fun for you as the human aspect going through influences of certain archetypes, but from a soul's perspective, the more difficult, the better, especially for older souls and especially for those of you in resolution lifetime. Last but by no means least, number 10 is working with your Akashic Records business guides. If you are a soulpreneur, you own your own business, it can feel very lonely. It can feel like you are bombarded with all of this advice, all of these different experts telling you that you should do your business this way or that way, and it can be extremely overwhelming. And if you have a business, you have business guides, okay? And I cannot stress enough how helpful and how good the Akashic Records business guides are at helping you sift through the noise of all of this advice, all of these books, all of these experts, and finding what works for you in alignment to your soul, in alignment to your energy. Honestly, they are just so helpful. They are different to your everyday guides, your kind of human life Akashic Records guides, in respect of their focus is to help you have an aligned, abundant, service-driven business. So they do have a different focus, but I promise you, once you start working with them, they will really help you take your business forward. Now, caveat to that, the Akashic Records business guides are not here to teach you the basics of running a business or how to do certain things, for example, okay? So an example I'll give you is the Akashic Records guides might say, okay, you need to really focus on your website, helping more people find your website, so looking at SEO, but they're not going to teach you the day-to-day nitty-gritty of optimizing your SEO. That's your part to do. So think of working with your business guides in respect of cooperation. As with all true guides, they're not going to tell you what to do step by step. And I know when you're working with business guides, sometimes that would be great if they just gave you the step-by-step outline, the plan. But it isn't the case. They're not going to do that. They're not going to impede on your free will, but they are going to guide you to look at things that are going to help you grow and expand that business in a way that is aligned to you specifically. Now, I want to just put a little bit of a caveat into this, in that I am not for 1 second sitting here saying, oh, don't worry about doing any other spiritual practices. All you need is the Akashic Records and that's it. I am not saying that at all. I have so much respect for different practices, different paths, different ways of working with things. So I'm not saying don't look at anything else. What I wanted to do with today's episode, which I hope has come across, is I wanted to broaden your perspective of what is possible by working with your Akashic Records. So, for example, you may work in the Akashic Records and you may be asking a question about your ancestral healing, and your Akashic Records may guide you to a specific type of plant medicine to work with. So they're not, this is exclusive, you only work with the Akashic Records. They're a modality that are to be used in conjunction with all of the other beautiful paths, practices, and modalities that are out there. I'd also love to hear in the comments section of this episode if you learned something new today, if you have had your mind broadened in respect of what's possible, if you were perhaps one of those people who thought that the Akashic Records were just about past lives, and if this episode has been helpful for you. As always, I thank you for joining me in this episode, taking the time to listen, rate the podcast, share the podcast with people. I absolutely love making the podcast, and I will see you all next week for the next episode.